Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So in this video, I will be discussing about some of the key concepts related to post-colonialism. So let's start. So there are three basic assumptions regarding post-colonialism. The first one is colonialism as a destructive force. Colonialism was a powerful and destructive historical force that not only shaped the political ideas of the colonized but also altered their individual and cultural identities significantly. From the perspective of post-colonialist, colonialism was not about enlightenment or civilization, rather it was a cultural and economic exploitation. For most part of the world, colonialism was a very traumatic experience, and the effect of it can be observed in the former colonized till now. Colonialism resulted in many cases the loss of indigenous cultures, for example, the replacement of native language by the language of the colonizers. The nation formed after this colonialism were also shaped on the framework of colonizers, and many native people left their religions in the favor of their new religion. The other aspect of the colonialism was the exploitation of the indigenous resources. Colonizers leached the resources and wealth from the colonized, all under the disguise of civilization. All these instances shows colonialism as a destructive force. The second major assumption is concept of othering. Colonialism operated on the fundamental principle of othering. Colonizers saw the colonized as something lesser and barbaric. The colonizer regarded the whole situation as binary opposition. If the colonizers are civilized, then the civilized are barbaric. If the colonizers are dynamic, then the colonized are stagnant, etc. This context of us versus them is central to post-colonial theory because post-colonial theory regards this difference as not something bad but something that is inevitable and celebrates this difference. The third assumption is more than one side to the story. Post-colonialism is often written with a subscript like the empire writes back, which is very true in this context of this theory. The colonizers tends to tell only their side of the story, where it is the moral obligation of the colonizers to rule because they are more civilized and hence are apt for this job. The colonization, according to them, is not something bad, rather it is beneficial thing for the colonized because they are being educated and civilized. Post-colonialists object to this and provide the perspective of the colonized as well, and they argue that there is more than one side to the story and that factual and good is relative. What colonizers believe to be true and good is not at all good for the colonized, and therefore it is important to look at both facets of the story to give a final verdict. So these are the three major assumptions of post-colonialism. Now there are certain concepts, major key concepts related to post-colonialism. The first one is ambivalence. Ambivalence is related to the way in which the colonizers and colonized regards each other. It is closely related to the concept of othering and involves two types of othering: demonic other and exotic other. For colonizers, the colonized is both something distasteful and exotic, and same is true for colonized, who regard colonizer as both corrupt and inviolable. The second concept is hybridity. Hybridity refers to the cross-cultural exchange or cross-culture mixture. In the context of post-colonial theory, it is defined as the state of colonized people as they attempt to imbibe the aspect of colonized power within their native cultural system without completely accepting or rejecting either. It is culmination of two identities with the split conscious of being both and yet neither completely. So the third concept is double consciousness. Double consciousness is also related to the concept of hybridity and was first proposed by W.E.B. Du Bois and is based on Frantz Fanon's idea of divided self in Black Skin, White Mask book. In post-colonial term, it means that the colonized always see themselves through the eyes of the colonizers, and this result in the ambivalent mimicry of the colonizer by the colonized. The colonized mimic the colonizer's culture, language, habits, and even religion, This results in the formation of the multiple consciousness in a single individual. That is called double consciousness. The fourth concept is diaspora. Diaspora refers to the migration or displacement of people from their native lands. It refers to the possession and sharing of collective memory and nostalgia of the home. Diaspora or diasporic literature tends to maintain an altering identity, language, and culture while living in a foreign culture. Diaspora is also closely related to the concept of nationalism or nationhood that I discussed previously in my previous video. A person displaced from its native land or living in a foreign culture tends to develop this feeling of nationalism more severely, and this feeling of nationhood leads to a collective struggle to reclaim their national and cultural identity which is stolen. So this is called diaspora, and these four are the major concepts of post-colonialism. Now there are major subjects of post-colonialism as well. The first one is the agency. Agency is the ability to exert power. The second one is the assimilation. Assimilation is the absorption or the adoption of various foreign aspects of culture and behavior. The third one is Eurocentric. It is a viewpoint which overprivileges the perspective of Europe and European culture as superior or normative. That is called Eurocentric. The fourth one is hybridity that I already discussed in my previous slide, that hybridity is the combination of two elements into a new separate element. In culture, it refers to a combined culture that creates new meaning from combining foreign and indigenous aspect of culture. The fifth one is metropole. It is something that the home base of colonial power, for example, Great Britain from the British Empire or France from the French Empire. So it is the home base of the colonial power. The sixth major subject is Orientalism. So it is the depiction of culture and society in the colonized world as exotic, backward, and in opposition to Western Occidental tradition. So it is something that is given by Edward Said concept that Orientalism versus Occidental. The seventh one is subaltern. It is something the colonized subject who is not only missing from historical account but who also lived in a realm that was at time distant from the colonial encounter. The eighth one is, or the eighth subject of post-colonial theory is subjectivity. It is the individual perspective based on personal experience rather than external force. So in this video, we discussed about post-colonial key concepts, some major concepts and assumptions, including some major subjects of post-colonial theory. So that's all from my side. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Thank you for watching.